This is a Founding Media podcast.
Yo, Badass Brigade. Alli Waddell back here for Balanced Badassery, your weekly fix of wellness wisdom. This week, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, adventure and travel. Adventure time. And I got my girl Cristina here, who is my queen of adventure. She takes people on adventures. She has adventures of her own, so I can't wait for her to share her insight of how you can have more adventure in your fucking life, because how you can be healthy and have some fun if you're just lame-o hanging out at your house by yourself. Cristina, can you introduce yourself to the Badass Brigade, please?
Sure. My name is Cristina Schooler. I am the founder of the Rooted Method, an outdoor education service and retreat business. I take private groups into the wilderness and teach them rewild skills.
Yes. Rewild skills. I mean, first off, let's just get a good definition of what rewild means to you.
For sure. To me, rewilding means accepting where you are in the human journey. I think so much about rewilding is reclaiming the human experience. You know, we have all our micro day-to-day routines and things that, you know, we have to do. We have our kids, our jobs, our mortgages, but really what my service is trying to do is get you out of that routine. It's kind of break you out of what you do day to day so you can get perspective and so you can get out of the chatter that you hear in your head so you can be more in tune and in harmony with yourself and each other.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think that that's so important, especially kind of in today's society?
I think it's a given that we are so overstimulated that it's hard to hear our own voice. Mm-hmm. So even if you're seeing a therapist or even if you are, you know, going to yoga, eating, doing all the things, that it can seem overwhelming in the amount of tasks that you have simply because we just do have more stimulation. So I really try to spread the message that if you want to get more back in alignment, back into the rhythms and the seasons of life, that you really need to physically and mentally get out. And to a place, too, that it doesn't mean you have to, like, throw your cell phone in the water, you know? I'm not, like, take it away from you, but it just means that you really have some time to disconnect and just be with your thoughts in the natural world.
Yeah. Why did you discover kind of this way to kind of get back in tune with yourself?
I mean, I definitely... I grew up in an outdoors family, but I really got serious about it when I decided to quit drinking. Mm-hmm. For me, that was a very personal choice, and being the sensitive person I am, I knew it was just hindering me from my life. And because of that, when I really quit that, it allowed me to kind of broaden my mindset and really jump into exploring more of what I love and having the energy and time to do it. Mm-hmm.
And what have you found most people is the big takeaway? Like, say they're new to, like, they've never done this before.
Right.
They're city slickers. They live, and maybe they didn't come from campy families or outdoor-centered families. Right. What is kind of a big takeaway that people have when you take them out for the first time and, like, camp, like in a tent?
Yeah. No, well, it's funny. Actually, the people that you mentioned are most of my clients.
I know.
You're like, I know. But, what I see first, it's really interesting, is the first day, I kind of feel people's shoulders are up, like that kind of like walking around a little bit stiff. And I seriously, at the end of day 2, it's like relaxation. Like I see people's bodies and minds just relaxing. When you're around someone, you can tell if they're just kind of holding it. It's like when they get there, everyone's like sussing around the situation like animals do, like people do. And then the second day, everyone's just hanging. Mm-hmm. It's really special. It's really my favorite part about what I do is seeing people relax into themselves and each other. Mm-hmm. And these people come from different backgrounds. I've had clients from Japan, New York, like all over. And it's kind of bringing people outside your circles so you can expand and connect.
Mm-hmm. So explain to people what kind of one of your adventures would look like.
So my signature trip I do is called Desert Dreams. It happens 4 times a year in Big Bend National Park. It's 4 nights, and what that looks like is the first 3 nights we are camping. I provide all the gear, all the food, and then the 4th night we're staying in a really cool eco Airbnb or 2 in Terralingua, and I do that because I want people to have the experience of getting dirty, kind of getting in the outdoors, but also ending their experience with time to kind of like in a way, like clean and reflect. You get to shower and you get to come back to relative society and terralingua and sit together and really reflect on the experience.
Yeah, it's kind of the integration practice of the camping.
Right, exactly. Because I'm not teaching people to, just bushcraft and go into the wilderness.
Naked and afraid.
I actually interviewed for that show. Didn't go on it though.
Oh god damn it! I wish you would have made it.
My mom had a little bit of a heart attack. She was like, no. So anyway, that's a long story.
That's awesome. Maybe that could be your next retreat.
Maybe.
So what do you think are some ways that people can start to incorporate adventure into their life? There's trips like yours, but what are some other ways that you think that maybe people could start incorporating that in even a baby step way?
Totally. That's a really, really good question, something I'm passionate about. One of the first things I tell people to do that are just starting is to take off your shoes as much as you can.
Oh, that's an awesome tip, actually.
Yeah. No, really. The earth is one giant battery, and we evolved to be barefoot. And the more we have connection with the earth, the soil, the water, the stone, the more we're energized. I mean, I really start people there, and it really has helped a lot of my clients and a lot of my community. Another tip is just going outside, even if you live in an apartment, on your porch and breathing in nature. Just seeing what that's like, even for 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes even, just to face your head towards the sun, deep breathe. I mean, it'll immediately get you out of your kind of like micro story that you're telling yourself. So kind of ground with your feet and kind of uplift with your breath.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, grounding is actually, studies have just shown, just the power of grounding itself.
It's amazing.
And then just being in the sun and being outside, and what that actually does is just a general state change. Like I'm a big fan of, like, if you're sitting there, like, set a timer and just get outside and walk. Like, people want to make it super complicated, and I'm like, it's really not complicated.
I know. And I was actually listening to an interview with Tony Robbins and Marie Florio, and she was like, if you could give one person a piece of advice, what would you do? Like if they're stressed or pent up, and he was like, go jump in a body of water. And I was like, yes! It's so much more simple than we think, because we've intellectualized our world. We're animals. We just got to get out.
Yeah. Do you teach people, actually? I know you do, but what are the different skills that you teach people, like, while they're on retreat with you? And what are some skills that people could start, say they don't have access to meeting you? What are some skills that people could start to develop that would be fun for them to then be able to practice out in the world?
For sure. Some of the skills I teach are how to plan and execute a basic camping trip. Like, what does that even look like if you've never touched a backpack before or a tent? I teach people how to not be afraid, like to mitigate the fear aspect of going out far. I teach a lot of women about how to, how to deal with female hygiene in the backcountry. It's one of my biggest questions I get. It's like, what do I do when this happens? Okay, let's talk about this. But I think that if people are starting their own journey in developing camping skills, I really, wherever you are in the world, is recommend going to your local, like, outdoor co-op or REI. They have tons of classes. Like, if you've really never had any exposure, those are really good places to start. Usually they're very low cost, like $10 to $15, or if you have a membership, they're free. Another thing to do is, I'll leave a couple book recommendations, but really just as much as you can, you have to, in the camping and outdoor world, get your hands dirty. Yeah. It's really, that's just the reality of it, is it's not going to go easy your first time, probably not your second or third time. Like, it's like exercising a muscle.
Yeah.
The more you have to get uncomfortable to get to the place where you feel comfortable doing it often.
Yeah. I love that one of the things that you address is fear, because I actually think that's a big thing when people think about travel and adventure, is like they're telling themselves or they're telling the world that they don't have time, or they don't have the resources, financial or otherwise, or they don't have whatever. But really, when you start to unpack, like, why haven't you traveled? Why haven't you done these things that you say are on your bucket list, or that you say you want to incorporate? And when you really start to unpack it, there is some fear around it can be all kinds of things, worthiness, or I'm going to hurt myself or I'm going to put my family in danger and we're going to get eaten by bears or
Right.
you know. And so what are some of the ways you help people first off to recognize that maybe that's what's coming up, and then how do they process and kind of go through that?
You know, I like to say if there's a real fear initially, it's almost like in the beginning, like microdosing, you know, I mean, It sounds weird, but it's like, try going out for a day. Don't go from I'm just doing my workouts inside and that's all I've ever known to camping for 8 days, you know, and that's where people jump to. They jump to, I've never been on a day hike, but I want to go camping. So I think that it's really important to just practice in your city or in your park, just being outside alone. Like in a place that's safe, you know, as much as you can, or with your kids, where you have to rely on yourself and just warming up to that feeling. Like in a place you know is safe, basically, is what I'm saying. Where if it's a local park or even if it's just a little hike outside your city, just telling your loved one where you're going and when you'll be back, because doing that, you also make sure that someone else knows where you are. And that's a huge piece of safety. Like even when I go in the Greenbelt, I'll tell my boyfriend, like, hey, I'm going to be out for 3 hours by myself. I'll be back around this time. If you don't hear from me, call. And that's a really good thing that one of my outdoor mentors told me about when teaching people about how to warm up is just, if you want to go by yourself, tell them where you're going, tell them how long. That way, nothing bad can happen because someone else knows.
Yeah, that's just a general life tip.
No, but you'd be surprised.
I mean,
right?
it is just a general life tip. Like that, I feel the same way about driving. Like driving somewhere long. Like I'm going to Houston. Tell somebody you're driving to Houston, because if nobody knows and then you're gone,
right?
People are going to be like, "What the fuck happened to Allison?"
It's true. It gives you layer of cushioning.
Yeah, and so I was very lucky. I mean, like you, I came from a very outdoorsy family. Like our thing, I think number one, now looking back, we camped a lot because we were broke. Right. like we just didn't have money for vacation, so it was like we're campers.
Oh yeah. Oh,
but
for sure.
now it's such a skill set that I'm like, oh, thank God we were campers. I'm so grateful for my father who like instilled that.
Me too.
Like I don't have any. It's interesting that somebody would be scared of like staying outside in a tent.
I know.
But then I have friends that are like, you're gonna be out in Big Bend by yourself with just you and Ken?
Yeah,
I was
right.
like, yes.
Yeah. There's no showers. What? Like
there's a cool river though. Yeah. And there's javelinas that are a little kind of scary, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
They make a lot of noise. But it is fascinating to then incorporate, to talk to people and unpack those thought processes of like you came from just such a different environment than I did. And that there's baby step ways to do everything. I tell people, I'm like, man, you're worried about camping, rent a trailer the first time and go to a little camping trailer park. I go, then you're kind of camping. You're
or go
glamping.
Glamping. Go sleep in a teepee.
Yeah.
Go sleep even in a cabin that doesn't have Wi-Fi. We'll start cutting off the Wi-Fi first.
I love that. But I do think it's another one of those things that travel for so many people feels like it needs to be this Instagram grandiose. I need to bring my fucking tripod and my whatever the hell else I'm going to do. And I'm going to take these amazing photos of doing a handstand on a cliff.
Oh my God, right. Mine's like, here's my phone. I'm just going to try a little bit, when I'm by myself.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, travel can feel very
Absolutely.
like pressure driven. And I like that you have figured out a way to put some ease into it and allow people to be like, listen, this is about you and this is about you connecting with others, be that your family or your friends or yourself or whatever that looks like. So do you have people that come to you and be like, I need this amazing camping grandiose adventure. Can you orchestrate that for me? And then you have to walk them back off the cliff, back from the cliff.
No, I do help people with that. I, especially families, I'll help a lot, that the only kind of private, one-on-one, client sessions I do with people are mostly with families, you know, that really do want it because they have kids and obviously want to go with themselves. So I do have kind of a way that I walk people through the process of like, you know, where are you going? How are you getting there? I kind of walk them through a 10-page process that I've laid out to mitigate that fear. So it makes it more easy because the thing is, once you've done it once and it's easy, you've felt what it's like to be out camping and you want it again. It only takes your first great camping trip to be like, holy shit, what have I been missing right now?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's so fun. I mean, my sister and her husband are like legit campers. Like,
going there all the time.
Yeah, they live in Colorado, and they have a whole section of their garage that's all their camping stuff packed in giant tubs.
That's me.
And they back up their truck, and they go like this, clink, 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 and then they get to the place, and it is like some orchestrated amazingness.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Everybody has their jobs, and she's like, bam, the whole thing. I mean, she has an oven. I mean, she has like everything. All of her meals are plain. I was like, that is highly fucking impressive.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and so but again, now she's instilled that in both of my niece and my nephew, who now my niece is in college, and now she takes her friends. Like, now she's the one, and she had, you know, she got a Subaru because she's like,
I have a Subaru.
Because I got to go camping.
Yeah, right.
And then I'm putting on my friends who also don't know how to camp, like in the back. And so it really is, I think it's such a cool and important thing to teach your kids, not only just camping, but this sense of adventure and that you're this person on this planet.
Absolutely.
That you can explore and that can look all kinds of ways. And so it's funny that when I first go through, you know, kind of my wheel of badassery with clients, and I have this adventure travel question,
That's
I'm
awesome.
like, score yourself on where you are. And a lot of people, some people are really high, and some people are very low, and very few people are in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing to talk to people about because they're like, I wouldn't think that this had to do with wellness.
I get totally. And I think for me and my business and my philosophy for me, I think it should be addressed before anything else because and I'm sure we've talked about this before, it's about your perspective because if you aren't in the right mindset and you can't step outside yourself, then it's harder to go along the journey. You have to be able to step outside, constantly be able to like remove yourself and look at the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I found for people is just, I think some people need a permission slip. Like some people need a little bit of a permission slip. Like, I need you to plan 2 trips a year. Like, for a lot of people, like, I'm like, I just need you to do something.
Right?
Like, I don't care what it is, but you have to get out of this wheel of like just normal life. I mean, because you just lose all perspective of what's you want to pull some like gratitude into your life. Go don't shower for 5 days.
See, no, and actually, okay, so what some of my clients say after my trips is when I get feedback is they say, like, this trip really made me appreciate my shower. It really made me appreciate, like, my dog or, because it does. You realize how much we are so lucky, like, how much we have.
Yeah.
And how much we don't need.
That's also the other thing that I think is super important, especially about traveling either by yourself or like very lean, not fancy travel, is like you really realize very quickly like the importance of minimalism and how much space your shit is taking up, not just in your life, but in your brain and in your like soul space is like, if I can go and like be bare bones, me and Ken have an Airstream. We can live in that thing for weeks at a time.
You know that you can.
And I'm like, dude, if shit hits the fan, we're good.
That's what my boyfriend say too.
I'm like, don't worry, we're fine.
Yeah.
The apocalypse happens. You can kill some food.
Prepared.
I can catch a fish. I know how to cook. Like
No.
there is a lot of there's so many people struggling with having confidence and assurance and feeling self-responsible. And I'll tell you what fucking does that. Knowing that you can take care of yourself if shit ever hits the fan.
I cannot tell you. No, seriously, it does because especially like when I was going through like my sobriety in the early days, I was like, shit, can't take care of myself. And, really honing in on my camping skills and I mean, it changed my life. Obviously, that's why I'm doing what I do. And using your hands, too. Like, we're behind computers, we're on our phones. Like, it gets you back into the human experience of, like, being an animal and using your hands. Yeah. And it gives you happiness and joy.
Yeah, and we did this shit for millions of years. It's like, you need to know how to make a fire.
Have you read Sapiens?
Oh, of course.
It's like one of my foundational books.
For sure, everybody should read that.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, and so I do think it's this process of like, and again, it's a self-knowledge and self-awareness practice of like going out, your shit, especially with those you love the most.
Yes.
Your shit will come up real fast. It's like, you're not putting up the tent right. Well, you're not helping.
Yeah, it teaches you communication dynamics.
Yeah, and it teaches you like how to differentiate who's doing what and how do you communicate those things. It's amazing, like, it's like everything, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And when you get out of your normal routine and you have to then again create a new routine, it's so fascinating to watch people's dynamics and how that ends up coming out. And you're like, ooh, this is a fun little sociology experiment.
Oh, yeah, that's what I think all the time. I'm like, ooh, I love watching this.
Have you had shit go down in one of your...
No, I've been pretty lucky, honestly.
You haven't had, like, one real wacky person?
No, I had...
No, you're kicked off the island.
I really have been lucky. I have really a great, like, assistants that help me and has made it flawless. But I've had a couple, in terms of people, just not being comfortable in the beginning, but they got past it the second day.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
It happens.
What's the longest adventure you've been on solo?
12 days.
Where was that?
Alaska.
How was that?
It was amazing. I went to Denali National Park and Kenai Fjords National Park. So I did like half and half.
Whoa.
And I got to see Denali. Yeah, life-changing. This is actually like it gave me the big push to start my business.
It did.
That was the trip that gave me the big okay, this is
if I can do this.
If I can do this. Yeah, and I felt that, that human collective feeling in my body, and just I knew that I tapped into something that I wanted to share with people.
Mm-hmm. So what is your long-term goal for Rooted?
My long-term goal is that it becomes a practice that people can use within their own communities and families.
Oh.
I really am exploring it being something that more of a methodology. Like, it's not something like nature and the experience outdoors is so broad. Sometimes you can't pinpoint what that means exactly, but I want to provide people with the beginning steps and the process of like what it even looks like to not only go out and camp, but have like a relationship with nature, to like be sustainable and to have a symbiotic relationship with the earth so they know the importance of going out and experiencing it.
Okay, well, that fits perfectly into what I want to talk about. So tell me the beginnings of the method. How do people develop that connection and relationship with nature in your view? Like, what would be some of the steps that everybody could start to do?
Well, I think first of all, it all comes down to your mind. I mean, I can't, you have to prime your mind into being in the right mindset to receive any new information, to start a process. So, I mean, it sounds like a broken record. I think I mentioned this, but breathing. Like, I literally, one of the first things I do when everyone gets to a workshop or a retreat is I talk about breathing before you start anything new, before you go into anything stressful, because you're allowing new information in. So if you go outside and you just step in the sunshine and you've been on a stressful call, you're probably not going to experience it very well if you don't stop for 2 minutes and just breathe. So that's the first thing. I talk a lot about breathing, like ways you can breathe, how you can breathe, different, like I use like 3 different methods, like Wim Hof is one of them that I use, which I know you talked about.
My favorite. It's my favorite.
Yeah, I use a lot for myself. So that's the first step. And then, I mean, there's a lot of other steps to it, but really I spend the first few hours and chapters that I'm working on in explaining the mindset of it. Because I can't have you do something until you are recognizing the potential in yourself. You recognize that you deserve to have fun, that you deserve to go out there. You deserve it. And it's part of your human experience. Like explaining that no matter where you come from, no matter what your background is, like you deserve to feel good and have fun and be a part of a community.
Oh, fuck to the yes. I absolutely love that. I think that speaks to the heart of kind of everything I teach, which is First off, I think we've taken a lot of the fun out of wellness. It's like everything is so goddamn serious. And it's like, oh my gosh, the whole point of this is so that you can have a lot of fun.
Like, yeah. And that's why I love what you do is you're so open and just raw. And we're animals and we mess up and we do shit wrong, but we also laugh and it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's
all fine.
But I just love that. And so really getting back to kind of that heart of the matter, which is like mindset in the end. Even when it comes to traveling the world, is really where it comes back to.
Yeah.
You know?
And practicing it daily. Like, even if it's simply waking up and, like, for me in the morning, I tell myself, like, I'm human, I deserve a great day.
Oh, like, that's a good mantra.
Yeah. I mean, it helps me, though. And I notice the days when I don't do it, you know? It's like, oh, shit, forgot that this morning. But, you know, it's like a muscle. You know, the more you do it, I mean, I can tell in the days that I haven't done that I haven't meditated, even for just, like, 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Okay, we're going to go into some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Well, you just started it, so let's finish it. Mm-hmm. What does your morning routine look like?
My morning routine, I wake up at 5 a.m. and I light some incense. I grab a big glass of water.
What kind of incense?
It's a Nag Champa.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I grab a glass of warm lemon water. I drink it, and I sit, and I usually turn on some Indian flute music, and
Indian flute.
Yeah. And I usually will do either Wim Hof breathing or my own kind of long breathing for about 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then I will sit and mentally tell myself what I'd like to achieve for the day. And it isn't like, do great today. It's very specific, you know? It's very much like I would like to, I am going to do X, Y, Z.
Okay.
Specific. And it helps a lot.
I love
That's
that.
my first, like, kind of 30 minutes.
What is one thing that you believe that people think you're crazy for?
I think people think I'm crazy for crystals. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that could be one of them.
Yeah. People think I'm crazy for obviously camping. People think we're like I get that thing like, oh, Cristina, the crazy camper. You know, like she's out in the woods. And I'm like, probably.
Nature girl.
Yeah, my boyfriend's like, wait, where'd you go? Oh, okay, you're just literally out.
So nature. That's good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that for sure. Like, I love working with the elements in my own day. Like, so crystals, water, trees. Mm-hmm. Yeah, being with them.
Oh, I love that. Okay, final question.
Okay.
Two-parter. What advice would you give to your younger self? And you can tell me how old she is. And what advice would your 90-year-old self give you today?
I would definitely give to my, you know, like early, like 23 to 26-year-old self. I think that was a really important time for me is that don't give a fuck about what other people think.
That's so hard.
No, I know, right? I sit there and say that it's hard, but I mean that. I don't mean it as in a flippant way. I mean it in a way as if you can really trust that voice inside you, if you can follow it, your life is going to be great.
Yeah.
If you can learn to trust it. My 9-year-old self, are you saying what would she say to me now? Mm-hmm. I think my 9-year-old self would say that you're on the right path to helping people connect to Mother Nature.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's awesome. She would say that because you are. Because I see it all the time.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Is there any final things or things that you would like to share with the Badass Brigade?
Man. Just don't underestimate the power of a tree or a river. Just simply going and sitting by it. That's all I'll say.
Oh, I mean, come on. So, side note is my dad is obsessed with trees.
Oh,
I mean, my
obsessed.
dad's a sculptor, and he's obsessed with trees. Has been obsessed with trees his whole life. He builds everything out of wood.
That's so cool.
And so, to find another, weird,
a tree soul,
a weird tree person is hilarious.
That's me for sure.
It's awesome. Like he drives by and he's like, "Hold on, we need to stop and look at that tree."
That's me. I go knock on people's doors. I'm like, I'm go look at your tree.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.
Yeah.